Why is the other one so small?
Because it's a
It's just
flying
cold.
unit.
So small! Like a child. Which absolutely makes
very
sense that they
small.
would do child jetpack flying infantry units in 40k. That just makes sense.
Yeah, they don't need as much
Raiden?
I wish the lightning
Raiden.
was coming out of this one.
What the?
Hey, look. Female.
Female representation.
Oh, it's a female samurai with a crossbow.
What? Is that Katana from frickin' DC? That is Katana from DC. She has the mask and everything.
Yep. Ballista Maiden is her name.
Onimusha? Bruh.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Oh.
Shogun Shadows is a pretty lit one.
Because
Oh, he
apparently...
is straight pimpin'.
So, Supergirl, apparently, it did better than Madam Web, but it did worse than Morbius.
Well, yeah.
Ow.
Which
What?
Morbius released? The first one or the second one?
Well, they combined the two. But
Yeah. Clearly, that just means we.
Hey, guys, we're live. Okay, calm down.
Clearly, that just means we. It's time for another Morbius theatrical release. This time we'll go for sure.
Oh.
True.
this time they're ready
Yo.
for it. I've been busy like the past 5 years, but this time I swear I'll get out there and watch it.
No, true.
Guys, it's Morbin time.
It is finally Morbin. 2022.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it was
Yes,
very
yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
A vaccine out.
Well, 20. No,
This
that was.
mod has anime waifus.
That was
Yo,
2020
the
was when it
ghost.
came out. So that means it was at the back end of COVID.
That is a
yes, that is
Mando
100%
feeling.
the Mandalorian.
This
I
Mandalorian
just
with
love
a
how
poster.
Bob said COVID came out in 2020. Like it was a release for the pirate. No,
Can't wait
came
for
out in
COVID
March
too.
2020.
Yeah, did you not know we had like a fucking COVID patch?
No.
Came out in 2019.
2019 was the early release.
Yeah, that was
2020
the
official release.
early access.
That was the title release.
Yeah, the Chinese got that closed beta.
He is live.
Did I say something wrong?
Yeah,
You're
it's
about
muted.
to. Dude, giant samurai robot.
Yo.
But was COVID a success? Are we getting a sequel?
I hope not.
They've been trying.
God.
New releases like Delta haven't been successful.
That one did well.
Oh my god. Have a
Fun
good
Dorcas.
time. Good luck rolling.
Bye-bye.
Better be rolling. I know you know.
Hello, chat. How's it going tonight? Summer rant type? Now, come on. Come on, guys. You can't just assume I'm gonna rant. Also, I may have to fix the... I'm gonna add this to the playlist. Powerwolf, huh? Okay. I am attempting to fix the camera setup here, so just 1 second, chat. But how's everyone doing today? There we go. We continue on our glut of FGO content. Another day in someone else's paradise. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. You kind of warned us about a ramp if they drop double KP. I've had more time to think about it, but I cannot promise anything. So we are completely done with the NA event. Do I have anything that needs to be done? I am still mission complete for the next half an hour. So let's do some rank ups. I will do the KP one, ironically enough, here on NA. I guess we'll keep going with the Saberface only run here. Actually, I should have swapped the other one for Kane Sky, but it is what it is. Zach, thank you for the resub. And again, welcome everybody today. I hope everyone's doing good. How did you guys feel about the summer reveals? I'm legitimately curious to know what the general feel of at least my community is on it. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Yugi. Did I already opt out of the Twitch AI training? Yes, I did, and I was warning Trubs. He was the one that sent it to me, and I was warning him that for anyone else that you guys tell about it, make sure that they like refresh multiple times to make sure that it stuck, because it did not stick with me, and I had to go back and redo it like 2 more times before it actually stuck. So Twitch do be getting scummy. Could be told no for this summer event, I see, yeah. Insane luck, nice Rom. Yeah, it's definitely the writer's thinly veiled fetish on display in this case. Sad they're not sharing the same banner. I'm sad they're not sharing the same spirit origin. I have no one that can give 40% charge. That is just unfortunate and annoying. So we'll just do it like that. Summer Proteas or whatever, but the old unit should have been for summer. I do think they should always make an effort to put like an older unit in, and in that regard, I can't say that they did everybody new, but it is what it is. We'll go over it. It's not thinly veiled. Yeah, You're not wrong. Summer Binion, I got a better kit. We'll talk about it a little bit. I don't actually have numbers in front of me at the moment. I know Avalon's been at it all day because, just so you guys are aware, Avalon has also been like updating fandom and stuff because, frankly speaking, the community at large is dropping the ball. So, again, you guys can thank Avalon for his hard work. He's not the only person doing it, but we definitely need more people that are willing to actually like roll up their sleeves and start helping update the game sources, because it's just one of those deals of if someone doesn't do it, it's gonna get bad. Did I change my mic settings? It feels weird. No, I think the only thing that I have is that I have my my headset mic out, but that shouldn't be changing anything. The only other thing I could say is that maybe that it's a little bit further from my voice. Kamachi has a cute swimsuit, but they ruined her with the male stand thing she has going, IMO. Yeah, I could see that. I do think that this is why it's taken them a little bit of time to do more like hybridized servants in that regard, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's not surprising that they went with it. I think some people thought that they would never do something like that, and it's not surprising to me in the least. I've been predicting that sort of thing for years. I just don't think you're going to get a full-blown male outside of like it'll be an ascension or a costume for someone. Good luck, Brielle. Florida's hot. I'm aware. Might be able to give you Benny. Yeah, go for it if you can. I definitely don't need to be able to go over like everyone tonight. There's a hot NPC you have a need for. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen the one that everyone's talking about. The guy doing the GSSR tracker website quit. I have no idea who that is. Again, I don't do any sort of like tracking or anything like that. I just try to keep an eye on general things that the community needs to know. Super niche projects or things that are like designed, like I know there's a couple projects out there where people like calculate every banner's courts and stuff like that. It's like we've never done that. That's definitely for people that want to like min max the planning. I've always just said, hey, here are the tools, go use them, and I don't bother to keep up with any other like fan made tools that people do. Perceive is hot. It'll probably happen. I still do think that they use these summer seas as an extent of obviously they need stuff, but I think to some degree it's also testing the waters as to seeing like how interested are people. That might just be because I'm a girl. Yeah, it's okay. I haven't. Bichon is actually the one that I haven't gotten to really look at yet. I looked at KP, and I looked at Benny. Hello, Ingor. Marie Alter C too. Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll just throw in Morgan Le Fay in here. Marie one was great as well. Yep, the burrito C. Can we get Habitry? I have no idea. Like on JP, I basically had enough time to spend my AP down, and that was it. And honestly, it took me a little bit because I was so busy today at work. Hello, Spartan. Still no Summer Zenobia, though. Do you really need Summer Zenobia, chat? She practically already is a summer unit. Yes, I know. I knew the answer before I asked. Okay, let's go with that. Because she's part of summer too, I think. I mean, they always can. I'll talk about my philosophy coming up here for the summer when we actually get over to JP and why I think some of the decisions were the way that they were. I was also talking to my coworker a little bit about he was going off on the new Halo campaign that they released for Unreal 5 and like all the drama surrounding that, and I was just laughing because I was like, yep, I mean, that's I put in for a key for it, and I was laughing at how they went out of their way to tell me that they were considering me, but that if I didn't hear back from them by X date that I wasn't going to get the key. And I was like, most other studios just don't bother to tell you, so it tells me that they kind of knew that there was going to be some controversy. Otherwise, they in general won't do anything like that. Okay. Who do I want? I want a 50% charger. Rhinus. Belly dancer fighting style, I see. Do we need Summer Lartoria? We have Bunny Artoria, same thing. Yes, we do. But Bunny is Summer Lartoria. Wait, I'm confused. I don't think that's the same thing. Because somebody said that we didn't use her. We have to use her. Campaign devolved, yes. Any reaction, Dust not getting any Summer Saberfaces this year? I don't mind it. It's certainly not the first year that that's happened. Ultimately, at the end of the day, though, I judge a summer by what I feel like it has to offer. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Chat's trying to get it out of me so desperately before I'm ready to give my earnest opinions. Who dared ask an absurd question? Flog them? No. Lalter? Okay. Whatever. We'll just crit this fucker to death. We've been on a soccer streak lately. We really have. I'm not quite sure why. I suspect that Nasu feels the need to do something for people other than the Saberfaces that are like the main core group. And the Sakura faces just end up being like the easy alternative. It's worth a shot. It's okay. When Wada's the real one responsible? Someone made the choice to give Wada all that responsibility, so that's why. Hey, man, listen, Tamamo fans better stop, because I feel like it's every stream at this point. So if you guys aren't careful, I'm going to start blaming everything on the lack of Tamamo faces. I'm going to meme it. Like, oh, that 90% didn't crit? Yeah, that's because Tamamo fans. Don't get me wrong, I get it too, but I do feel like it comes up every stream at this point. They become the new Rin fans. And listen, there have been many iterations, but yes, I do agree. When we have to single out like one particular group of people because they keep bringing it up over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, it's not a good position to be in for the community. I see Crossed mentioned that Dan Clancy apparently admitted that the AI thing is opt-in on by default because people obviously don't want it. So basically, he admitted that they did that on purpose because he knows. And yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but they actually announced a new version of the Razor Naga after like inexplicably not producing a new version for years. Ren fans of HSR. I don't. I should not say the next thought. Say it. I do feel like we used to have a lot more Rin fans in the community, and I actually do think that where most of them went was to other games. So it is what it is. There we go. Looks like we have enough for one more run of something. Who do I want to start next? I think I'm actually gonna do Satanta, because out of all of them, he's the one that I am most likely to use. Where's my Morgan? There she is. Can't blame them for Space Aris. The last rune face with Space Ishtar, I think. Can I blame them? This is an interesting question. And I know, like, it's a turn of phrase, right? But it is something that I've thought about, that, and this is why I say, like, I truly do mean that there were a lot more. I'm going to be honest here. If you're a Rin fan in chat, raise your hand. I like Rin, but I like my other characters better. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say, if you're somebody that's like, Rin isn't like the main waifu for you or something, then it's fine. You're not who I'm talking about. But here's what I want to say. Those of you in chat that actually did raise your hand and are that way, like Rin is your main waifu, you're a true one. You stuck around. I feel like a lot of the Rin fans that left for other games were not actually Rin fans. They were bandwagoners. Or they just liked Rin because she was their type, but they didn't actually care. Feels that way? Yeah. I've always kind of felt like that to a degree, that there were a lot of like bandwagoning Rin fans. And this is why I'm trying to say, it's like, I'm truly not saying this to like insult Rin fans, in the sense of true actual Rin fans, I think did actually care and did stick around. I think the fly by night, fair weather, bandwagoneer, whatever you want to call them type of fans, though, there were a lot of them that really liked Rin, and they didn't care really. So UBW bandwagon, yeah, it could also be some of that too, right? Like, but that's why I have that opinion that it should be true. I think this is the case with like any game that gets popular. There is naturally a group of like bandwagoneer / fair weather fans for like stuff, and they naturally latch on and something becomes the most popular. But then if those people leave, you notice that things like calm down. Like all of a sudden, if like the hype dies for the game, it's like people are like infinitely less annoying about shit. Have you guys ever noticed that? And truly, I believe that is what happened with Rin fans. I just believe that the worst amongst them, the most outspoken, the truly annoying ones, just fucking left. And it was hilarious. Like, I cannot get upset at that. Instead, I was like, finally. That's why I don't like when stuff gets popular. They're an absolute chaos and annoying. Yeah, and that's all I'm trying to say. Like, I don't, to a degree, I don't actually judge Rin fans by that. Yeah, I think that sort of thing is true in like every single fandom. I believe that there is always that like annoying set of fans. When anime became popular, I wouldn't even say that. I would just say like there was definitely a point, probably like year 2 of FGO, year 2 on JP, basically the start of NA. This is when you started to get a lot of like bandwagoners coming in, because it was like, oh, this game's really popular. And I think that number rose and rose and rose, and it really peaked around like year 3, year 4. Like somewhere in this time, the amount of like, oh my god, FGO is so popular peaked. And then year 5, we had COVID hit, and the game started growing to astronomical proportions, and then Genshin came out. And thankfully, for better or worse, Genshin took like all of those people away. For better or worse. So it's like, I actually do believe that, yes, it was a good thing in the end. Some people weren't Rin fans so much as they liked hating on Saber and Sakura. Yeah. I think in the case of Rin, especially Erish, is proof that not even Delightworks the single was prepared for how long LB took. Yes. And I can say like the devs weren't prepared, but I do believe that Type Moon was. I believe that Type Moon enacted that plan. So while I don't think the devs thought that it was going to take that long, part of the reason it took that long is because everything was so damn padded. And part of the reason it was all so damn padded was because of the decision of Type Moon. Like, I'm gonna be real with y'all, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong on this. I believe the entire reason for the padding in the Lost Belt arc, was because Nasu was stalling in the hopes that he could actually end the game at the conclusion of part 2. So, to reiterate, I believe Nasu purposely padded the shit out of part 2, hoping that the community would accept the actual end of the game. And that he could finally get the monkey off of his back that was FGO and be free of it. And I think he realized in the end that that didn't work. And now we're looking at a part 3. And so part of me wonders, was it all for naught? Have I done my review of the Famitsu interview yet? No, I probably will not have the time. I did watch Trubs. I was lurking in his stream as he talked about it. Trubs also did put out his translation of it, so feel free to go watch his translation video if you guys want. In fact, if one of the mods can grab it and link it in there for Trubs, or if Trubs is around lurking, he can also throw it in. But just in general, I want to say that I don't really have the time to go that super in detail anymore. I mean, to be fair, I also think like part of the stalling there was Nasu trying to give people enough time to really like enjoy and experience the story and not to bring it to an end too fast, but also to give him more time for other projects to be worked on. So I think that like it's not as simple as like I just proposed it, but I do think that is actually the reason. It's just there's more factors to it than I indicated there. The monkey has a death grip on Nazi. Yes. The monkey's on his back and his choke holding him. It was also a single having problems, to be honest. I will hear me out. I will say this. Lasengle having problems can be blamed for things like the delay of LB7, the delay of LB4, the delay of Gouda Gouda. That's Lasengle having problems. We had actual delays that the developers had to come out and apologize for. What you can't actually say that is the case for are things like 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5. Ordeal call. None of this was Lasengle had staff issues. All of this was Nasu padding. Like 100% verifiably provable. So we know for a fact that was actually padding. To be fair, those explain stuff? No, I'm not going to be fair on that. I don't care that it explains stuff. And hear me out as to why. Because it was unnecessary. Giving extra exposition is fine. Everyone likes it, right? But there is such a thing as too much, and there is a point where it's obvious that you are actually just stalling and padding things. Like, you're taking a story that could have been told in, let's say, 50 pages and making it 100, right? Chat, how many of you, and to the younger people in the audience, I apologize, you don't understand the way that this works because you grew up in a generation where there was AI. But how many of us older people in the audience remembered having to write an essay for school? And it's like, oh, it needs to be 5 pages. And you can write like 1 page, but then you padded it to make it 5 pages. The art of the fluff. Exactly. This is exactly what it is. The older people know exactly that this is the case. That this was something that was done on purpose. Like, did it give more explanations? Yes. Is it a bad thing? No. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying we all know that is why. Like truly, it was just Nasu padding things. It was him deciding to put these in-between chapters in. Yes, to provide more explanation, but also to literally make it take longer. And I'm going to prove this to you right now. Chat, how many of you guys remember the Famitsu interview? From year 5. The interview where the interviewer asked Nasu, so what are you gonna do now since FGO is coming to like its closing arc here for part 2? And Nasu laughed and said that we weren't even halfway. That's your proof right there. That was Nasu saying, yeah, we've decided that we're going to extend it. And right after that, they recategorized the Oku event to 3.5. They dropped 4.5 on us, and the 0.5 started coming out regularly at that point. So the 0.5 chapters we know for a fact were not originally planned, and we know for a fact was Nasu adding to it. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is a thing. We know that. Okay? So my theory is, in the end, while yes, he wanted to flesh the story out more, while yes, he wanted to give people more time, I think it was a dual purpose, and ultimately it really was just to serve his end, which was, I want the end. And I want people to accept the end. And then people didn't accept the end. And he does talk about that in the most recent Famitsu interview. He did admit that all his talk of the end was literally him like doing a bit. And that while, yes, he did expect that the game could end at that point, that he was surprised by the community's reaction. So I do think, like, I think it's one of those things in chat. I'm sure some of you guys have had this in your life, but have you ever had, like, a person that's like, ha, you're ugly. And then when you get upset, they're like, oh, whoa, man, I was just kidding. Just kidding, man. It was just a joke. Everyone's known someone like that. Yeah, the just kidding, bro. And you're sitting there and you're like, okay. So I do believe that in the interview there where Nasu's like, oh yeah, it was all a bit. I think that's Nasu being like, ha, yeah, it was a joke, guys. It was a joke. Ha, 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 ha. I think that's him kind of trying to leave that part behind and get out from under it. And I think he knows that it was an unpopular thing that he was doing. Because and they commented in the interview about that both sides, both like him, like the Type Moon side with Nasu and everything, and Mr. 2 were both like, what the heck? People are actually like worried and don't know what's going to happen with the game. We are causing the fans to worry, and I think they didn't realize how important the game was to people. Do not trust what Nasu says. Yeah. Which is something, the longer you guys are in the Nasu verse, the Type Moon, the Fate community, the more you guys should know that you can't trust what Nasu says at face value. He's done some villain shit for a bit before, so I don't know, to be honest. Right, but what I'm trying to say is I think within that statement, there's a little bit of truth that it was a bit, but I also think he was hoping that it wasn't a bit. And he was kind of trying to force it, and then it just didn't work, and he was like, ha, I was joking. Perish the thought? Exactly, Jay. Jokes are the deepest lore after all. Mm-hmm. Okay, so someone was asking me, can I get Habitrot yet? I don't believe so. Yeah, I don't see that there's like the coins and stuff are all still locked for her, so I am assuming that I cannot, in fact, get them yet. Looks like I also need 1,500 points. Wait, chat, how do I get points? Do I have to redeem? Do not redeem. Wait, I'm confused. With sunk cost fallacy, so yeah, this game means a lot to people. And see, like, I think you can definitely say that, like, from a just logical standpoint, there's a lot of sunk cost fallacy, but I also think just looking at the story and how much people like the Fate IP, it makes sense that people stick around for that alone. Been watching too much Kit Boga? Okay. Boom, there we go. Oh, so we got the damage up, see. I do really like FGO as my primary gacha. I do too. And I still think that, and I don't know how popular of an opinion this is, but I still think that FGO is at its best, truly, when FGO is not like super serious all the time and like super grindy. I think FGO is at its best when it's a more casual experience. And I think that's when people will actually feel like it's still fun and it's not like some stupid thing that they're having to like constantly grind. Like I'm sure a lot of people liked all the grind events and stuff that we had last year, but I do believe there's a point where you can say, hey, this is just too much and it's not fun. So lottos were a mistake? No, I don't think you can say that lottos are a mistake. I think you can say that there's such a thing though as too many lottos. Too many grinding opportunities all in one fell swoop. I tried to take it super seriously and the grind burnt me out for a year. Yeah. It's better when they lean into fun. I agree. Good old Surfmo chat. Don't even have to worry about refund. The future Grand Quests, the new alternative lotto format. The future Grand Quests, the new alternative lotto format. What do you mean? Like, are you asking, like, are they replacing lottos? To a degree, one of them that comes out is an actual lotto, but no, they are not actually a replacement. Dailies and other methods of farming just feel like a waste of AP and, more importantly, time. I do agree with that. I think one of the ways that they should, and hear me out on this, one of the ways that they should boost like player retention and stuff is to tone down like timed events like that, where like, oh hey, here's another like timed grinding opportunity. Don't make that a thing. Make our actual timed events our 3-week-long events. Make them have good resources in the shop, and that's it. And then boost the regular rates. Make it so that day-to-day farming becomes more of a thing, and lottos and the like are much, much, much rarer. Permanent tower event where it refreshes every week or month just because I want something that utilizes my servants. Yeah. I'm actually a little bit surprised in that regard too, but I also... Oops, I shouldn't have done that. I also don't really want them to do too many like monthly and daily things. And I've expressed this to you guys before, right? Like, there's definitely the challenge in like min turning communities that want FGO to have more of that. If you want that, I'm not going to fault you. I am going to say, however, that if you put that in the game and you put tangible rewards behind them, what do I mean by tangible? Literally anything that's good for a player. Like, you would have to make it some of the most inane rewards ever. Like, you get 1 Ember or some shit like that. But if you put anything tangible behind those, it becomes a requirement in the player's eyes. it then becomes a task that they must do, a la a daily or a weekly or a monthly. And then you get that weird live service mentality and that burnout that happens with so many other games. And I don't think that's a good thing. So like I said, I'm sure that people in the challenge community would like that. I actually think it would hurt the game long term if they do that. I do believe that that would hurt the game's population. And I've expressed this sentiment before, and I've been told by other people that I'm wrong. I just disagree wholeheartedly. And I think the design style of the game and the fact that it has staying power compared to a lot of other gachas proves that I am right. And I'm going to give you guys some examples. Like, I do believe that some of our older gacha games that were out in similar times to FGO have fallen off more than FGO has. I do believe that other games that have come out since FGO that have more robust live service mechanics have also fallen off more than FGO has. So that's where, when I look at this, I'm like, yeah, you have to be careful how you balance your game and what you make as a required task for your players. I think we are in an era, and this is just in general in gaming, but I think we are in an era where these live service, like always online, perpetual login, perpetual homework type mechanics are becoming very unpopular and undesired by players. So I believe every day that kind of grows, and I do understand that like people are still playing these games. It's not like they're dead or anything like that. But I think the sentiment against them is growing as, yeah, there's general like tiredness and atrophy with relation to those mechanics. Is there any gacha that is as old as FGO still in service? Yeah, there's actually an older one, which is Grand Blue Fantasy. I agree more and more because it feels like another job. Yes. Yeah, so like, but that's why I'm trying to say I do truly believe that one of the reasons FGO has staying power is because they have not kept doing that. Like, I'm going to give you guys an FGO example. Storm pods. Everyone celebrated the QOL that we just got here on NA when it came out on JP, and that was the QOL to make it so that you could do storm pods from any node. You could just toggle it on. When that came out on JP, everyone was like, oh, thank God. It's over, finally. Because there were so many people that either weren't using their storm pods because they just hated that mechanic, or they were feeling stretched thin because they felt like they had to constantly stay on top of it. And that meant balancing it with events. That meant trying to find ways during grindy periods to still make sure that you did your 3 like bleached earth nodes a day. Okay? Nobody liked that mechanic. And I really do mean that. And I'm not talking about like the rewards that you get from the storm pods. That's fine. But nobody liked having to specifically go in and do something regardless of what else was going on in the game. So that therein was the problem. And that's why getting rid of that requirement was a huge boon. So I think actually them putting that day-to-day requirement on the game hurt the game in that regard. And I think they realized that, and that's why they did away with it. I think they knew it was not having the effect that they wanted, right? What exactly do you get from a storm pod on a non-OC quest? You just get the Stardust for the class score. Gotta remember to do my daily spin. I'm indifferent to that QL personally. I still do Bleached Earth nodes. That would make you a rarity, Yugi. And I really do mean that. I'm not like saying that to single you out or anything. I'm saying most people didn't like doing the Bleached Earth nodes and actively stopped doing it. Like, it was very few people. I remember I polled literally just my community back then, and I think it was something like, of the people playing JP, only like 40% were still sticking with their storm pods on a day-to-day basis. That means 60% were letting them rot. That's not good, right? Like, and to be fair, like I said, I'm one of the few like that. I never missed a storm pod. They never rotted with me. I always did them. But I hated having that like pressure to make sure I went and did something else. And I do realize when I've gone to play other gacha games, this is why I don't like playing those other gacha games. They all try to like force you to like jump through hoops constantly. It's like, here's your login, here's your daily, here's your weekly, here's this like duel that you have to do, here's this raid, here's this PvP thing. Even though it's not really PvP, there's just like somebody set up a team and you have to battle against their team or some shit, right? Like, it doesn't matter. It's a bunch of hoops that you have to do every single day, and you're like, I hate it. It sucks. Just let me play your game. You know, reason to do storm pod nodes because they give a ton of ball levels. Yes, that is the actual reason. The actual reason you do the Bleached Earth nodes is for like master level, for bonding, and various like good drop rates. But if you're somebody that does not need the drop rates, the usefulness of those nodes goes way downhill. Like, for instance, and I'm going to point this out, chat. How much do you really need to care about master level? In the grand scheme of things, most of you guys are going to become like me, where you're going to get there anyways, and it doesn't matter. Like, by the time they increase the master level to like 210 or something, I'm going to easily have been at 200 for so long it won't matter. So that's where I think a lot of players are at. I think over time too, as you go across the scale in terms of time, more and more players become veteran. And what it means when you're a veteran player is that you have more and more of your things that you need to do in the game done. Hit max master level, foe all of your units, like level everybody up, that sort of stuff. All of these are goals that you eventually want to complete. Level up all of your mystic codes, right? And I think over time, more and more of the community gets that done, and that's why they release new stuff. But essentially, because of that catch up, you have this like group of people that just like they don't care about being perfectly efficient anymore because they don't need to be. So it's like, it's why I always teach you guys in like how to be perfectly efficient, but sometimes I don't practice what I preach because I don't need to. I don't have to nickel and dime everything. I've never bothered with the master level C. I throw them on. Like, if I have nothing else to put on, I throw on like the bond and I throw on the master level because I logically I don't probably need something like QP, and I certainly don't need Mystic Code experience past a point. What's after Lost Belt 5.5? Lost Belt 6. Unless you mean, wait, chat, was Tunguska pre-6 or post-6? I'm pretty sure Tunguska is post-6. Which, there you go. There was another thing that we were talking about that we had forgotten. We need a new system to replace class score now that players are done with it. I don't think we need a new system to replace class score, and I'm going to show you why. Chat, why can you zoom out? What if it expands and starts going like all up here? This is like that append 4 to 5 thing, isn't it? Yes. Because, so, game design 101, chat. If you're gonna make the effort to make something for your game, make it reusable. And one of the ways that you do that, especially when you have systems like this, is you make your system scalable. If your system can scale, then you can just keep using the same treadmill over and over again. FGO year 15 is going to have a screen like PoE. That'd be great. Like, I would actually like to see them turn the system into a little bit more of a like customizable thing where you can't get everything and you spec your characters for how you want them to play. And a new story to complete everything. Exactly. But yeah, I've predicted that one for a while as well. I don't remember when I first predicted that. I remember it was like 3 or 4 years ago, but it was a thing. They should give individual servants skill trees. That'd be cool. Like, a little bit, too. They bill FGO as an RPG. And I don't really feel like it is, but if they want to make it feel more like an RPG, give players more choices. Choices are truly what defines an RPG. A game that has no choice isn't really an RPG, in my opinion. Like, for instance, I saw them, was it like Game Informer? Someone tried to do a list of like the top RPGs of all time. And it was like one of the worst lists you've ever seen because it included things like Legend of Zelda and stuff. And I'm like, that's not an RPG. Like they literally put like Breath of the Wild in there. I'm like, that is an action adventure game. If anything, it's an action adventure puzzle game. It is not an RPG. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the fantasy aspects to it, but I think they're confusing fantasy with role playing. So what you're saying is let us give our servants rocket launchers? They already have Fearless. Do you guys not remember a certain sussy alter ego? Is that my alter egos? Yeah. They've already given one of our people an RPG. Or Tez. Yeah, Tez is another one. I suspect that you underestimate how difficult it is for a newer player to foe all units. I started 3 years ago. My progress on foeing units is incremental because I get almost as many new units as foe sets. I gather that true veteran players got a lot of foes back in the day when events or reruns were more frequent. Incorrect. And do you want to know how I know this as a fact, Sarth? I've had to do it on 2 different accounts. I can agree. It took me longer to do it on JP than it did on NA, but already the time in which they started shifting to releasing more units and giving less foes, and part of the reason we started getting less foes is because we actually started having less events per year. We had 3-week events, and it wasn't until they expanded the amount of like the rewards in the actual event shops that we started getting a little bit more foes from that. But they realized that, and at several points they have given out vast quantities via milestones. So you've actually gotten a shit ton from that. Usually, and I think this is the big thing that a lot of people underestimate, there are 2 sources that make up the dominant amount of foes that you will ever achieve in your career. Events are one. The other is this. If you are not grinding heavily in a lotto, you're not getting a lot of FP. If you are not getting a lot of FP, you are not getting to roll that FP out for foes. If you are not rolling your FP for foes, you are going to struggle to have enough to foe everyone. And you will have that incremental progress. But that's not the only sources. You also get foes via login. You get foes via the monthly shop. They usually give them to you all the time from like beneficial campaigns and stuff too. But I do agree, it does take longer now to do it on JP than it does on an A, but it's still not impossible to do. And keep in mind too, usually the burden for foeing units is way down once you foed like your main cast. Like you should probably have at least 2 units from every class foed at minimum, right? And it's probably like a single target and AoE. From there, then you start like foeing ancillary units. But I do acknowledge that at least what you say about it taking longer is true. It's just not impossible to do. It does take time, but that's why I said like over time, more and more of the community actually does have their stuff foed. Usually you get 40 foes a month normally. Yeah, and keep in mind, part of the thing too is you have to be out-rolling that rate. So if you're only going to get like 40 foes in a month, that's enough for 2 units. Well, if you're rolling more than 2 units a month that are new, you will outpace this. So for a newer account, there is a thing where like, yeah, you keep getting new units over and over and over again, and you do outpace it, but eventually this slows down. Eventually, you stop getting as many new units and you start outpacing it with the foes. But this is also predicated on like having the mana prisms and stuff like that. So there's a lot of factors here. And I do believe, I think it wasn't much talked about, but at 11th Annie, at 11th Annie, they actually increased the amount of mana prisms you guys get every time you do roll. And I'm not surprised. I've been saying that they needed to do something to increase the mana prism rate for probably 2 to 3 years now, because it was obvious that there was a huge drain and it was very problematic for new players to have enough mana prisms to catch up. I'm not sure this fixes that, but it's at least a step in the right direction, because I think the devs realized it too. They were like, oh shit, like there truly is just not enough mana prisms for players. I just have a huge backlog of low rarity, unimpressive units that don't really have gameplay impact for me. Yeah. But you'll eventually get through it. And I'm dead serious on that. Like, just keep biding your time. Keep doing what you need to do. That's why I said, like, it's a goal, but these are what I consider to be long-term goals. Things like maxing all your mystic codes, foeing all of your units, getting everybody leveled up. That is a long-term goal. Okay? I think some of them, like, for instance, leveling every unit is probably more of a, like, mid-term goal. It's not as difficult to hit that, but it is something that takes time. As for whether or not a monthly challenge is okay, I just wanted to readdress that because I did remember seeing Avalon made a comment on it. I do think, like, for instance, I do think like the Azrael Mausoleum is a-okay in that regard. Like, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I think if this is all they do is like a monthly challenge, that is perfectly fine. If they start doing more stuff beyond this, then I think they're starting to tip the scales into like you're giving people homework. And to be fair, like a month is a lot of time for just trying to figure out one fight. I don't have a quick support. Is it a big deal? You'll want to get one eventually, Emilio, but is it a big deal like in the short term? No. There's going to be fights that favor quick. There's going to be fights that penalize you for using arts or buster, that sort of thing. And in some cases, both. And frankly speaking, there are some really nice quick supports at least coming. So I do recommend still eventually trying to build to that, but you don't have to like do it ASAP. Wait, hold on, AK. What did you say about me? And don't get me wrong, right? Like, yeah, I will say this in the same way that I've said it to many people, but I always tell you guys how best to play the game and let you guys make the choice from there. My goal has always been to teach you guys, to feed you guys the best information I possibly can, and to teach you how I go about thinking about things in terms of priority and efficiency so that you guys can apply the same concepts yourself. Whether or not you do is always your choice. It is always up to you as to whether or not to listen to a content creator. And I do mean that because I'm going to be honest. I understand why the FGO content creators have a bad rap. It's fairly obvious to me. I disagree with a lot of FGO's content creators as to like the advice that they give at times, simply because I don't think it's good, valuable advice. But at the end of the day, and like I said, this is why I teach you guys, so that you guys can think for yourselves. Because I say things all the time that if you're of a different viewpoint, you will disagree with, or you will say, that doesn't apply to me. And that's perfectly okay. Like, I'm trying to think of a great example of this. Like, I'll tell people to save to pity. Saving to pity is smart. It's logical. It makes absolute sense. If you're not somebody that, like, logs in every day, if you don't get, like, nearly as much quartz because you're just not as much of an active player, saving to pity becomes so much harder for you. Absolutely harder. So, is that actionable for you? No. Is it ideal? Yes. Maybe you don't have the time. And so for that, I can't say that, like, that's a big deal, right? So while it is the logical and smart advice, it may not apply to your situation. So it is what it is. I'm pretty sure I learned about CE bombing from you back in the day. Yeah, there's definitely some concepts in FGO that are not at face value, like, apparent. And it's so funny because I had a little, like, mobile game that I was playing on the side a while back, and I remember I, like, read a guide for it as to, like, how to manually aggro units that were coming towards, like, your base. And I looked at that, it was like, oh, wait, like, people didn't just figure this out on their own? And I realized, it's like, yeah, sometimes I figure things out just because of my analytical brain that might not occur to people. So it's like, it was something that I already had down pat and knew, but it was something that they were telling people like, hey, you need to do this. And I was like, oh, shit. Is the best art setup for Summer Ibuki just double Castoria? It probably depends on the server that you're on. It probably depends what you have available to you. But yeah, generally Castoria is good to go. And it really depends on, like, do you care about, like, party cost and things like that? I know a big one in the community that a lot of people care about is bonding. Bonding is very big just from the standpoint of getting things like your strengthenings and your interludes unlocked, getting things like the rewards for bonding, and that's generally where you'll see people focus, is more on the reward side of things. So people might want to unlock the Bond 10 craft essence, or people may just be after like the quartz and stuff you get from bonding people high up. That's a-okay. I'm just not someone that like I always try to be efficient with my bonding, but I'm not someone that like I think this is the end all be all and I'm going to go to the utmost extreme to maximize bond points. And I've stated this before, like there are things that I think it's like, hey, I'm just being pragmatic with my approach, but if you want to take it to an extreme, you can go that extra step further. I know people who won't even use event Cs, they only use Bond ever. Yeah, I definitely knew someone like that back in the day. As far as I know, they don't play anymore, though. But, yeah, I'm not going to say those people don't exist. C-bombing at a certain point, when you get more QP than what you spend, you basically are losing time by making bombs. Yeah, that's why long ago, I adopted the more efficient, like fast approach to making C bombs. A truly neutral opinion on servants. I can't say it's like true neutral. I'm just going to say I try my best to remove my bias, and if I can't, I usually try to disclose why I'm being biased. And the reason to do that is so that you guys can understand and make your own choice. Yeah, the managing your inbox one is another one that's not apparent at face value. I can't believe people can even bond to 15 the day the servant comes out. It's probably because they're doing crazy shit like just popping rainbow apples and stuff. And yeah, that's true. With the bond overflow now, it's probably a little bit easier. Okay, chat, let's talk summer servants here. Okay, Avalon did get me the Benny stuff. Thank you. Just a second, chat. Actually, does anyone remember when I went over Azrael? Like what day that was? Oh, Bob just sent this to me. I gotta show it to you guys. A Star Wars fan traveling to Rebel ScumCon received a message from TSA inside his realistic DL-44 blaster prop case. So if any of you guys are curious, this is Han Solo's blaster. It says, "This is a cosplay prop. It is not functional, but it is expensive. Please be careful. Thanks." and TSA sent a notice of baggage inspection, but on the notice they wrote, "That was pretty cool." Oh, that's just great. So it's like they had to open it, but it's like, okay, if I'm gonna have to open it, at least it's fake. It's not a real thing. Okay, chat. I don't even know if this is going to show all of our event bonus units and such. Do we even have a Habitrot page yet? I assume not. We don't have icons for Lilith and Komachi. That I get, but do we have one for Habitrot? Or Habitrot, okay. Okay, chat, so... in case anyone was curious, and I'm gonna go get the things from our DMs out, the pictures, because that's just easier. Let's talk about the summer reveals here. So first up, we have 5-star Benny Enma Berserker. Then they revealed 5-star King Protea Moon Cancer. And then the 4-star on both their banners is 4-star Caster Bichon. Here are your CEs, as chat was very much commenting on earlier in the stream. This is your damage she is Marie Alter, and then Snack Lady is your drop for the culinary like currency in the event. And then for your actual shop currencies, here are your CEs. So you do have Serenity as a 3-star there. You have Burrito Mart as your 4-star. And, sorry. Yeah, Burrito Mart. I did say that right. I don't know why my brain thought I said Bradamante. And then 5-star Ishtar there. Here are your command codes. Early this morning, I was like, what the heck? Why are there so many Cs for this event? And then I realized that these were command codes. They did reveal the second banner. The 4-star is going to be Ona no Komache. We're going to have, and she's a archer. We're going to have 5-star Rider Lilith. And a very controversial choice here in 5-star Avenger King Protea Alter. So for those of you guys that remember the first banner already, there is OG King Protea as a Moon Cancer, and then there is King Protea Alter as an Avenger. So we have 2 King Proteas in the slot. I will just go ahead and briefly address that elephant in the room to get this out of the way. I do disagree with this. I think this is a poor choice. I think that in the end, this will only really be explainable by, I assume the developers are going to have been busy with working on part 3. And so I think they actually did hand off quite a bit of the load to Wada Arco in that regard. So we'll see. But I think looking back, it's the only real way to explain the choice for some of these units. My initial opinion is that overall, the unit roster, I don't have any issue with any individual unit per se. But looking at it, I think the units, other than maybe Lilith, are a little bit on the less popular side. And that's certainly a choice. I kind of understand why some people want to defend this and why they're saying that this is a good thing. I disagree especially for a game in its 11th year, where I do believe that people are looking for a reason not to roll. And to give you guys an example of this, I personally do not think that I will be rolling this summer now. Unless they reveal some unit that was hidden or something, this is going to have been the first summer ever that I don't roll for FGO. That's not a great sign, okay? But regardless, I think this is just a weird choice. So we can at least look to the past to see that something like the King Protea situation has happened before. We have had Jarcher and Jerker in the same summer. The only difference that I can say is that Jerker was at least a welfare. Both of them were also pre-established as actual characters with actual rollable versions. King Protea is coming in as an alter form in her first form ever. For me, I think, and don't get this wrong, because I've seen some people have some weird takes with this already, but truly the way I feel about the King Protea, or sorry, not King Protea, yeah, no, it is King Protea. I keep getting Soccer 5 all jumbled in my head. The way I feel about the King Protea situation is that if it were me and I wanted to handle this, I would have simply brought King Protea Alter in as the summer unit, and I would have said OG King Protea doesn't get a summer version and just is featured in the event. That would be an easy way to still have what they wanted, but I think somewhere along the lines they decided not to do that. Because I think probably early on they were looking at this and like, hey, why don't we make it a costume? Hey, why don't we make it, you know, just a different ascension or something like that? And I think they decided, no, let's make it two separate units. But when they did, they had a choice, and they chose to occupy two of the slots, if you will, with King Protea. That's kind of where I have my issue. And while, yes, it has happened with the Saberfaces in the past, I think we all understand that with how many Saberfaces they were putting as summer units, people were complaining. And they stopped doing that. In other words, the developers rightfully recognized it wasn't a smart thing to just keep using up so many of the slots for Saberfaces. So seeing them kind of go back and make the same mistake again, that's why I disagree with this. More than anything, chat. I have no hatred towards King Protea or anything like that. But I look at this and I say, the choice here is odd. I have seen some people say that they're upset about the number of SSRs or about the handling of the CEs. These are non-issues to me. And I'm sure there are people in the audience that are malding about that, but like, while yes, I understand that rolling more SSRs is a little bit of a problem, it's not the first time they've done stuff like this to us. And as I explained before the summer reveals came out, because people were already insinuating it's like, oh, there's going to be like 3 or 4 SSRs, like you know, this is crazy. Why are they doing this, Cad? And I'm like, you're still gonna roll, aren't you? Like, yeah, people will complain about this, but it's not truly an actionable complaint. Because if you still roll despite complaining about this, it doesn't matter, right? Like you're, again, the way you're gonna speak up is with your wallet. If you want them to understand that this is not acceptable, you need to not roll. But that's not a very popular opinion in the FGO community. So the reason that I'm saying that is like, yeah, I truly don't believe this will be an issue, even though people want to make it an issue. Because again, regardless of what they say, they will do something opposite. Now, I do think, though, again, back to my prior statement, that this will be a little bit of a less popular summer. And I think that the most popular unit that we actually have here is right here. I think Lilith will be our breadwinner of all the banners. I think that's going to get a lot of people to roll. But outside of her, I'm not so sure. Like, I've definitely heard a lot of the, like, Saberface fans are saying, like, hey, yeah, but King Protea, like, that's a big one. I'm like, hear me out. Not to diss King Protea, but I do believe that Protea is probably the least popular of the Sakura 5. In fact, in that regard, I did see some people bring up today, it's like, why did we get double King Protea and, like, we didn't get Violet? Because Violet's not ready to come out. But I do kind of agree. I think, you know, people that have a problem with the double King Protea would probably have been a lot more okay if this were a different Sakura 5. Like, if this was just a different Sakura face and not two of the same unit, people would probably have less problems with it. People have problems with the C's. Just the fact that they repeat. I wonder how popular Bashon will be. So I had actually talked about this a little bit in VIP earlier, but Bashon was a character, and I've heard mixed stuff, but regardless of the propaganda that everyone keeps trying to push about this character, I'm going to hit people with some cold hard truth. I've had people tell me that Bashon is really popular on JP. I disagree. And here's the reason why I disagree. I know very few people that actually rolled her. Okay? So I do think people liked her. Yes, exactly what Cujo said. I think people liked the character, but they didn't like the design of the unit. And so, because of that, I think there wasn't a whole lot of rolling for her. She is a unit, and she reminds me a little bit of Murasaki Shikibu. When Shikibu first comes out, people are like, oh, I like the way that character looks. She seems like she has a nice personality. I like her. But not a lot of people actually rolled Shikibu. And it wasn't until Summer came out and she got the Summer form that then, like, the popularity for her kind of exploded. And I think you're going to see the same thing here with Bashon. I think because she's a 4-star, because she's going to be on both these banners, and because she'll be, like, easily accessible, plus people do like the way that she looks, and they do generally like the character, now people are going to have easier access to her, and I think she'll get more popular. So I think that's what we're going to see here. I do have a little bit of a bone to pick here on this one. I know this is Trub's daughter over here, but, like, devs, we need to talk. It's becoming a little bit of a concern how we take a character that probably, like, in her original form, I wouldn't really classify her as a child. And we definitely go deeper on that. Especially considering Benny Alter is a thing. Benny Alter is older. And people were expecting Benny Alter if you did Benny. So I gotta admit, I'm actually disappointed by the implementation of Benny Inma aesthetically. This is a huge, like, issue for me with how they handled this one. I don't think the artwork looks bad or anything like that. I just have an issue with the fact that they tried to effectively turn her into the Lolly unit for this summer. And I don't think they needed to. I think they should have actually just made her Benny Alter and made it look really cool. I think King Protea's third ascension is weirder than Benny Inma's. I don't think it's weird. It is a little odd looking, right? But Also, this one's just funny to me. And a little bit it reminds me of BB Dubai. She has a pacifier. I'm aware. He hasn't seen the animations? Oh, no, I have not seen the animations for her, if that's what we're talking about. If she didn't look almost naked, yeah. But so, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, I look at some of this and I'm like, Devs, what are you doing? So, to me, yeah, there's not a lot here. I do agree, like, Basshone, if we're talking pure aesthetics, Basshone and probably Lilith are the only two that are remotely interesting to me. I need to see more, I guess, of KP Alter, but I doubt it's going to be a thing, because it's probably going to be the story ascension, is what I'll say. Yeah. When was the last time they had 4 SSRs? Those sets a precedent that 4 SSRs for summer is fine, which I think is bad for the game. Unfortunately, Prim, I don't think there's anything you can do about that. And I truly do mean that. Does it set a precedent? I mean, technically we've had 4 SSRs in the summer, just not all new, right? But is this bad for the game? I don't know. But why do I think there's nothing you can do about it? Because people are still going to roll. They know they can get away with it. So it is what it is. You can see a Catgirl Phantom Thief second ascension and OG KP's and P for KP Alter. I'm sorry, I'm going to need you to restate that entire sentence because my brain just ran in a circle. We had 4 summer SSRs with Annie included. True. I just, like, for the sake of the argument, I get the point that that Prim's making. I just, like I said, I don't think there's anything that can be done about it. Because I don't think you're going to get enough people to get upset about that particular aspect. Because, for instance, if you're a fan of Benny, you don't care. If you're a fan of King Protea, you don't care. If you're a fan of Komachi, no, actually Komachi's a 4-star. If you're a fan of Lilith, you don't care. And if you're a fan of King Protea, again, you don't care. So I'm more upset about the double dipping of 1 unit than 4 SSRs, as I don't need to roll every unit. Yeah. And I think this is one of those things where people are, they're not sure what to be upset about. People are in general, I think, upset. There's definitely, like, I want to say, like, maybe half the community is okay with this because they like the units and stuff, and the other half is upset. And the half that's upset doesn't know what they want to be upset about because there's different things that everyone's upset about. So they're going to get away with it. That's all I can say, right? Like, people will roll. It will be a thing. Now, with regards to this, we do also have Habitrot as the welfare. She is a pretender, which is definitely interesting. She's a little bit of a kaiju. Nothing more to really say on her at the moment. Looks like she's going to join temporarily on August 15th. So probably like 3 days from now. In the original KP Summers in Peace. Okay. That was a cleaner way of stating that. Thank you. This Annie in Summer will probably be the worst performing in the game's history. I just hope it doesn't affect the game long term. I think there's multiple reasons you could see that. Char, I don't know that he's actually exaggerating. I think it's a fair statement, because I think I look, I'm going to say this. I share that opinion. I actually do believe that will be the case. It is an opinion. It's not a fact. We don't know. We'll see when the numbers come out, right? But I do believe that is the trend that we will see. But I can't say that it's explicitly just because of the unit choices. I think there's multiple factors there, including, again, the game is in its 11th year. Also, the game had realistically, unless you read that Famitsu article and you heard directly from Nasu, you're probably still thinking the future of the game's up in the air to a degree. Nasu confirmed they are working on part 3 and that we will see them for part 3. I know that because I listened to Trubs translate the Famitsu article. Not everyone knows that. And I think because of that, we have seen people... See, there you go. We have seen people say, like, hey, I'm kind of slowing my rolls. Like, I'm not going to roll as much until they actually solidify things. Also, I think that in general, you will see... there will probably have been some reduction in the overall population of players. Because the ending of part 2, I do think we lost some of the greater population of FGO. How much? I don't know. So I think I'm predicting that it probably will be the worst performing, but because of all of the factors, not because of any one factor. Yeah, as to whether or not that like, calling it the worst, right? Like, that sounds like a baity term and everything, but what I'm trying to say here is that it depends on how much worse, right? Like, if it's like 1% worse than our worst ever, like anniversary and summer combo, it doesn't freaking matter, right? If it's 25% worse than our worst ever, that's maybe a little bit of a cause for concern. If it's 50% worse, holy shit, what the hell happened? Like, so there's levels to this of, like, we'll see if that prediction's even right. If it is, by how much? We don't know. And I'm not saying this to, like, doom FGO or anything. I don't think this will. Okay? Let me go ahead and state that. I do not believe this will be like, oh man, the game's gonna shut down or something like that. No, I think if they have a poor performing, like, sequence of Annie and Summer, it just is what it is, and they'll circle the bases and they'll do what they need to do to try to drum up more money. So it just is what it is. I just hope if it performs bad, they don't see it as a male Annie servant and stop doing it. I do think that could be a factor. I don't think it's an unfair assumption to look at the data and extrapolate that if that's the way it ends up. I'm just going to say that's also more nuanced than just it's a male, right? To be fair, I don't think Lilith missed. I don't think Lilith did either. I think Lilith is a good choice. I mean, albeit, I will say this. I have heard a general complaint, and I do kind of agree, that most of these units are a little bit too soon to be getting their summer forms. And I do kind of agree with that. Like, Lilith, to me, should have been the next year, not this year. But it is what it is. NA dooming when JP doesn't care. That's true. And like I said, I'm not really saying it's like, I'm not trying to doom JP. I'm just saying I can see that this will be not as well performing as certain summers. Lasagna forgot about Clio, for example. Oh, there's plenty of older units, and this is something that I wanted to mention earlier. So I do believe that probably in the background there is either, as Avalon put it, a very heavy recency bias. So they're picking newer units for relevancy and popularity. Or, and this is one of my theories, that I think it's possible that somewhere Type Moon has decided that, like, I'm not going to say there's a blacklist, but, like, how do I want to phrase this? That Type Moon doesn't want to do... Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. Doesn't want to do older units. Like, I think that there are some units from the past that Nasu just does not want to touch. Like, yes, let's take an example there of, like, Drake. Drake has, for story purposes, quote unquote, died. So I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons that they don't want to do, like, a Summer Drake or something. Is that actually true? We don't know. But it is strange at this point that we've had 11 years and they've never done that. Right? So I do wonder if Nasu has some lore restrictions as to who he wants to be summer units and such. So we'll have to see. And who knows? Yeah, it's entirely possible. It's like, oh, just some of the units that are older that haven't been picked are actually going to be featured in story upcoming, and so they want to stay away from it. Like, we really truly do not know. But all we have is theories, and it's definitely interesting to see that the units that got picked were the ones that did. As for chat was asking me earlier, like, how do I feel about no Saberface? It's not the first time it's happened. That doesn't really ultimately weigh in on like how I feel about the summer units as a whole. KP and Benny Enma are older units. That's true. That's why I said, like, I don't know how to really state that. It's more like that Nasu may actually say no to a couple of them. Some are Drake, some are Boudica, anything with Eric, yeah. KP and Benny were in OC3 LB7 though. Yep. So, like, it is a perplexing thing. Oh, whoops. I closed down Bashon there. Let's go backwards, chat, because I'm actually going to go over Benny Enma's kit in detail. But I do want a quick, like, viewpoint, because I truly have not gotten to look at, like, Bashon's stuff here. So you guys are going to get to see it on the screen, but I'm not going to really talk too much about it. Because, honestly, I haven't had the time to digest it myself. That MP charged, though. Oh, no, you idiots. Please tell me you did not do this again. Ooh, thank you. Why is it burnt on top? Okay, warmed on top. Thank you. I do appreciate it. Okay, that's a whole heck of a lot of poison there. Holy passives, Batman. Damn, chat. Today I learned I have this passive myself. Unfortunately, it's probably like D rank. This is also probably D rank for me. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, wait, hold up. Man, the devs are so dumb. We were just talking about this, me and Avalon, about like one of the reasons that the devs are having balance issues when it comes to units is because they keep giving units super effective modifiers. And then they basically allow a unit to provide that own super effective modifier. So, I was wondering where the gimmick was going to be. Because that's really freaking low. And while, yes, she has triple arts, that's not enough. She functionally has 20% arts up because you're not going to have water side a lot. And she only has 30% charge and then 10% per turn. Here's the thing. This poison skill basically is going to activate every single turn, including the turn you pop it on. And she's going to charge her NP gauge by 10% per enemy hit if that target has poison. Assuming you're looping over 3 enemies, that right there is 30% brute force. She gets 10% per turn, so that's 40% brute force. So assuming she can get even 50% charge, so like that is say she can get another 10%, she loops. Quite easily is what I would say. Eight hit MP. Yeah, this does help as well as the stacking arts up. Yeah, no, it's not every poison stack. You can see it in the wording. Charges own MP gauge by 10% per enemy hit if the target has poison status. So it's a conditional yes or no. It is not a per stack. The per stack is up here, where it increases her own damage against enemies with poison status by 10% times n being the number of stacks for 3 turns. Because I have her NP2. Yeah. Like I said, this is one that, like, on paper, you might think, like, oh, maybe she's not going to generate that much. She probably does. Like, But again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I can't give proper judgment on Bastion yet. I just wanted to like look over her kit. King Protea. Well, it's Moon Cancer chat. In a weird way, I actually like this version of King Protea a little bit better. Mostly from the standpoint that she seems easier to use than her original form. I think making a unit like King Protea easier to use is a good thing, because I think that's one of the reasons that people don't use King Protea very often. When a unit has a really clunky wind-up based kit, a la Bastion, people have a tendency not to use them, even if they did roll them. So this just kind of being like, hey, I press the button and I get max HP of 5,000. It's just good. Okay, I was wondering about this when I looked at it on fandom, or sorry, not fandom, on Atlas. This was a really weird thing, but it's literally another super effective modifier. Yeah, I think the bigger question for Bastion is going to be how few enemies can Bastion loop against. Like, can she do a 1/1x node? And if she can, then you don't have any refund concerns whatsoever. And chat, there is your reasoning right there. This will be triggered by the NP as well. You can give her over 50 without the charge per turn, etc. Yeah. To be fair, like, especially with the Scalifus in the game, she's probably good to 3-turn. Holy passive Batman, yep. To be fair, any of the Sakura 5 usually has Goddess Essence and High Servant, so... But yeah, I really think they need to provide more ways to provide Waterside Battlefield outside of the summer events. For summer, you're fine. Outside of summer, using a summer unit that requires Waterside Battlefield starts getting annoying. That's a choice. When a super large ally except herself is on the field. Ew. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on here in that regard. So I'm going to guess it's probably going to be synchronous with like KP Alter. Or maybe Olga. Unless you're Summer Melt, yeah. But like, we need a unit that can actually do it to either a supportive capacity or just a complementary capacity. So there you go. Adds Waterside Battlefield status to the field for 5 turns. So I like how I was just going over this and then boom, it's right here in the NP. But I'm going to guess this is in the top right. Yeah, there you go. So it works like Millennium Castle. So the only weird part here is going to be, again, that it's a Buster unit getting it. She does have the triple Buster deck. That's going to be interesting. We will definitely have a lot to say about that one in her review. Okay, chat. Benny and Ma. Benny is a very, very interesting unit. I was talking earlier, obviously, about my qualms with the Ascension forms, and that I wish that they had done a more like something akin to Benny Alter with her appearance. It's a little bit of a letdown in that sense, but obviously, if you're a fan of Benny Enma, you're going to be a fan of this unit, and I'm going to tell you guys why right now. Benny Enma's kit is kind of insane. So let's take a quick look at what she has going on in terms of her stats, in terms of her deck, and in terms of those skills. And we're going to circle back with the NP, talk about refund, talk about damage numbers, talk about possible compositions and things. So it is what it is. But taking a quick look here, you guys can see she starts out with almost 12k attack. As an AoE Arts Berserker, this is good. This is fantastic damage in that regard. Maybe not like the best amongst Berserkers or anything like that, but this is still quality damage output for her. Her HP is anemic, though, for a 5-star at only 12.8. This is something to be a little bit worried about, but also not at the same time. We're going to explain why. Looking at her, she's Earth Attribute, 10-star Absorption, just like you would expect a Berserker to have. 5.1-star Generation Rate, only 0.38 NP Charge Attack. Again, we kind of saw this as we were just looking at another Arts unit for Summer. So I do wonder if they did the whole, like, hey, let's copy the template off to the next Summer unit or something type deal. She has NP Charge Defense of 5%, which is good. It's above average. 52% death rate. That's probably going to be one of the things you actually want to watch out for on her, because there's not going to be a whole lot of ways to effectively stop a Benny Enma. And for those of you guys that really like to run the Invincible comp, or really just like to run a sustained composition with your party, something that's going to be able to just carve up challenge fights and servant gauntlets and things like that, you need to pay attention here, because this one's going to be a good one. She has alignment lawful good. She has female gender. Her basic traits are going to be animal characteristic servant, child servant, fairy tale servant, humanoid, non-hominidae, Oni, normal servant, 7 night servant, summer mode servant, and then weak to Enema Elish. Her deck here is a little bit odd, as I'm sure a lot of people would prefer something like Triple Arts. But having the double Buster cards here is definitely not a bad thing, especially considering as a Berserker, you are going to want her to be able to dish some firepower. So more Buster cards at least helps facilitate that. And honestly, in an era where we do have things like Mighty Chain and stuff, it's really, our deck and the card allotment are really not too big of a concern. As long as we have at least 2 arts cards, we're generally pretty good for like being able to have opportunities to NP generate and things like that. Looking at the hit counts, there's nothing to be concerned about there. Everything is above average or average. Looking at her active skills, this first one is insane. The easiest, most TLDR explanation I can give you guys is imagine Space Erish's love gauge, affection gauge, if you will, but imagine that it goes back and forth. So it goes up and down instead of just always going up. And it's party wide. So this Kurakura Meals is going to end up being a fullness gauge, aka like a food gauge for the entire party. She's going to, when she uses the skill, gain critical stars. It will increase the party's fullness gauge by 2, including sub-members. Grant the party one of the effects below determined by the number of times the skill has been used. And the count is shared for the whole battle and returns to the first rank after the first effect after you use the 6th effect. So effectively it'll just keep going in an order. No effect below is granted while the fullness gauge, however, is in fact full. So when it turns from green to red, you're not going to get an effect, and you need to be careful about that. The first use will get you Yakisoba. It's going to increase their attack for 3 turns, again, by up to 20%. So the gaining of the critical stars from this skill is also just at rank 10, which you will want the skill at, 30 stars. So just every time you use the skill, 30 stars, bam. From there, the first use is going to get you, again, the up to 20% attack up there. The second use is going to increase the party's max HP for 3 turns by up to 2,000. So effectively a heal, if you will. The third will charge their NP gauge by 20%. So this is going to be good not only for Benny Enma Berserker to Benny Zerker, I guess as we'll call her, to loop, but it's also going to be effective at helping her supporting cast to be able to get to their NP. So absolutely just fantastic for art setups. The fourth is going to increase their NP damage by up to 20% for 3 turns. The fifth is going to increase their critical damage for 3 turns by up to 50%. The sixth is going to then just outright heal them up to 10,000 HP. This is going to make Benny Enma just one of the overall best sustain healers, assuming you're just flying through the gauge over and over again. And how will you do that? Well, it's going to be pretty easy, because as we look at the bottom, the cooldown at rank 10 is literally 1 turn. So if you have things like the 5th append, if you have supports that, like, for instance, Tamamo Caster or Erd, to be able to reduce cooldowns, you're going to be able to just keep getting this over and over and over and over again. And actually, to a degree, I said Tamamo Caster there, she's not going to be super useful, because if you have it on a 1-turn cooldown, literally you'll get it back every turn. So reducing it more isn't going to help unless you don't have the skill maxed out. But ultimately, you're going to want things that can give cooldown to her to be able to activate this multiple times, potentially even in a turn. Now, another aspect to this is that on the first use, there is a 5% chance to grant Legendary Onigiri instead, which gives you all 6 of the effects at once and maxes out the fullness gauge. So it is very, very good. Is the effect increased by buff success rate up? No. I can almost guarantee you it is not. So this is a little bit of a combination, as we mentioned before, of Space Airish's gauge, also similar to someone like Calamity Jane with her 3rd skill, or maybe even potentially the Hakunos with their skill that can be lowered to a 0 cost. So you do have very low cooldown here and the ability to just keep utilizing this skill over and over and over again. But we need to consider some other factors here. Let's go to the second skill. The second skill is going to increase Benny Zerker's arts and buster performance for 3 turns by 30% each. The additional effects here are going to be that it increases the critical damage for 3 turns by up to 50%, and then also grants her evasion for 3 attacks, 3 turns. This is going to be great at keeping her alive, on top of the max HP up and healing that she's going to be doing to the entire party with that fullness gauge. On top of this, this second skill reduces the fullness gauge by 2. So you're going to want to time this to be able to get more effects out of that first skill. You want to be using this regularly to offset and make sure that she is not maxed out so that you can keep gaining these buffs. The third skill here is also going to increase her own NP damage for 3 turns by up to 20%, and a debuff on attack for 3 turns that has a 100% chance to instant kill the enemy when attacking with a Noble Phantasm. Now again, remember, 100% here is not a guaranteed instant kill. It is a modifier to the death rate, so just keep in mind, if you ever want to know more about how instant kill works, definitely go check out my video on it, where I talk about explaining instant kill and instant death. But from there, you're going to charge her own gauge by up to 50%. So this does make her an AoE Arts Berserker with 50% charge, just under her own power right there. And then increases her own MP damage for 3 turns while her own fullness gauge is at 1 or lower. This means that you want to always use the third skill first, right off the bat, the second you know you're going to NP before you ever activate the first skill. But then later on, if you do enough things to get the fullness gauge down to 1 or nothing, make sure you time it to pop this again. So Benny's going to be a little bit quirky in that regard for how you guys want to use her. And that's going to be something that you guys should keep your eyes on, is the gauge and how to manage it. Again, this one's on a 6-turn cooldown, same thing as the second skill. So really only that first skill is standing out for that cooldown. The passive skill, she gets magic resistance, presence, concealment, and independent action. Crazily enough, with all the effects that she already has and provides to the party with her first skill, she's still going to keep her ventriloquism passive from her saber form, making her impossible to skill seal. So enemies will not be able to stop her from using her first skill unless it is like a break bar or like story-centric effect where it's boxed in or something like that. She is going to be able to just act with impunity. On top of this, she has a unique passive that increases her own buff removal resistance by 20%. So keep in mind, she has just naturally high debuff resistance, she has buff removal resistance, she has skill seal immunity, and she's going to grant the party fullness gauge with a maximum of 4, including some members, but the maximum is 8 for super large members. She will grant them a buff on attack, including sub-members, that reduces their own fullness gauge by 1 whenever they attack. This includes carding and noble phantasms. So, you want to reduce the gauge to make sure people are getting their effects? Use their cards. It's going to be the most effective way at keeping the gauge from being maxed out. It's also going to grant them a buff on attack, including some members, that reduces the fullness gauge when critical attacking. So, you want to remove 2 stacks? Make sure that that card that they used is a crit. And there you go. That'll get you the most effective one. And then she has a Hell's Tormenting Devils in the Summer EX that has no effect. So, definitely an interesting passive there. We'll have to see how that one comes into play. Talking about her appends, because she's Berserker, that third append is the critical attack chance resistance. It's really not advisable for most units, so unless you're someone that's trying to like roll extra copies beyond 5 for no real reason, since again we can switch our appends around as much as we need, keep in mind that like this third append is not going to be very useful for her. Instead, things like mana loading could potentially be useful. Things like skill reloading. So again, you pop that first skill and you get to pop it again immediately, just right off the bat. Skill reloading is going to be a big one for Benny Zerker here. And then the extra attack finesse can certainly be decent. So my advice, go with 5th and second depends probably the most. And then if you still have some left over, go for the extra finesse. For her Noble Phantasm, it is a 7-hit AoE NP. It increases her own damage against undead enemies by 50% for 1 turn, activating first. So this is a 50% power mod against undead. It's kind of sad because like Ibuki Saber did not get a buff here like a lot of us were predicting. Instead, Saber got one, which I'm at least happy for. But seeing another unit come out that's just going to be really good against undead enemies, and frankly an AoE Arts Berserker that's going to be looping over them, is definitely not a good thing for Ibuki Saber in that regard. But absolutely fantastic for Benny. It's going to deal damage to all enemies, and then it's going to deal super effective damage to enemies that have evil alignment. So again, another super effective modifier to really help out the damage. And then the effect is going to be that it increases the party's fullness gauge maximum by 4 for 5 turns. This is unstackable. And actually, Avalon, I don't know if you ever checked into this for me, but I did have a question as to how specifically that interaction worked. It's going to remove their ailment debuffs and remove their defensive debuffs as well. So what this will not remove is this will not remove offensive debuffs. But granted, you don't care too much since, again, she can't be skill sealed. For the most part, as long as you're taking a decent support like Castoria, for instance, who have the ability to cleanse that stuff, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. Normally people have a cap of 4 and this increases it to 8. Right. My question was, I know it's unstackable, but does reapplying it refresh it? Or do you have to wait until it falls off? Like, is it truly a unique buff? That I don't know. Okay. So that is my question. I'm not entirely sure how that one works. We'll have to find out and get back to you guys. The overcharge effect increases the party's max HP for 5 turns. So whenever she NPs, regardless of that first skill, because that first skill at least has to go through the paces, like you'll get the max HP up on the second curry, and you will get the 10,000 HP on the 6th parfait there. But regardless, every time she NPs, she's going to be max HP. And that is a little bit ridiculous. From there, she's going to charge the entire party's gauge, depending on overcharge, by a base of 10%. But again, even getting like 2 overcharge ranks, this would increase it to 20%. And this is every time she NPs. So a little bit, I kind of don't know what the devs were thinking with this unit. This unit's going to be a very difficult unit to stop from the devs' perspective. Literally, they can't skill seal her. They're not going to out damage her, so to speak. And she definitely has built-in spammable survivability. Plus, if you're taking her into a composition that has cooldown reduction, like you probably should, she's going to keep getting back to these skills relatively fast. So, with that in mind, some of the only ways you can do it, buff strip. She does have a passive against buff removal. It's not 100%, but it's something. She also has debuff resistance, so trying to like NP seal her is going to be an issue. Trying to buff block her is going to be an issue. So that's really all they kind of can do to try to get at Benny Enma, especially if you're taking someone like Castoria still to protect her. So it's actually a pretty hilariously synergistic unit, and that's why I'm going to say, again, like, this is going to be really good for sustained comps. It's still got super effective modifiers. So against certain enemies, Benny is just going to carve them up and not really be touchable in a lot of cases. Let's take a look, however, at Benny's refund. Now, as you guys can see, Benny's refund against just normal enemies with just double Castoria. This does include the 10% charge after her NP, but you are looking at 0 out of 21 overkill hits. So again, you failed to even kill the enemy, and double Castoria will give her 98% refund. So therein lies the point. Double Castoria is a little bit overkill here. In our worst possible scenario, so let's say three assassins or berserkers, 0 overkill hits still nets you 80 and 89 percent there, respectively. 89% for the assassins. So all you need is to kill, and you're pretty much knocking on the door to 100%. Against a single enemy with double Castoria, in the worst case scenario against berserkers, your refund is still 34%. That's kind of insane. It does make me wonder a little bit what the devs were thinking there, because this is going to make it so that Benny Enma, especially without even using the cards, is going to be pretty effective at looping and refunding. Add in the capacity to use lesser rarity supports or more off-meta supports, and you start realizing that, like, yeah, Benny is just going to be a little bit ridiculous for refund regardless. Taking a look at our charge scenarios, really, again, you guys can see we don't have to use double Castoria. We obviously can get away with it with things like just like the Summer Mystic Code and stuff. But yeah, you can get away with Scalifus and Shufu and Mozart with his new buff as well. So again, low star options here are definitely a thing. Erder is going to be a great combination with him, or sorry, with her, because again, the cooldown reduction skill in her kit. So there is a whole lot that you can do to just kind of keep things going and keep this engine turning. And realistically speaking, it doesn't matter the number of enemies you're facing. It doesn't matter their class. Benny's got the refund to help that. So now with that understood, how does this translate into damage? So this is, again, Benny Zerker, or Summer Benny, if you will. Under her own power, completely raw, completely neutral damage, not effective, and not including, again, any sort of external buffing. Only her own skills. Now, the thing to keep in mind is berserkers are really never neutral. So these numbers you can multiply by like 1.5, okay? Looking at that, NP1 against normal, no modifiers, still does about 32k. That's really solid damage. Against undead, this number jumps. Against evil, it jumps even more. And if it's undead and evil, good lord, it practically doubles from the base number, okay? Again, if we manage to have full stacks, the 5% chance on the first activation, we get a little bit more firepower, but obviously for modeling things like refund and stuff, we're not going to assume that to be the case, because 5% is, we're going to treat that as such a low chance that, like, if it happens, it's a boon to you, but don't expect it to happen. The cap on the NP looks to be unique. I just tested it. So one effect needs to be gone to be able to apply the next. Okay, so to reference this again as to what Avalon's talking about, I asked him this question of, does the fullness gauge, because it is unstackable, at least refresh itself? Can you overlap it even though you can't stack it? So it's like you can't get, because it increases the maximum by 4 for 5 turns, you can't get like 8 by making them overlap. That's what unstackable means. But could you refresh it so that the 5-turn duration gets extended? No, you cannot. It must wear off before you can do that. So you need to be a little bit careful about the timing of that, because it may happen at a bad point and you go like, oh crap, I can't like get any use out of her first skill. So make sure you guys are paying attention to that so that you don't like screw yourself over in some way. Okay. So with that now, let's take a look at her actual numbers in a proper composition using Castoria, Erd, and Oberon with a level 100 Black Grail. We already know she can loop. Her damage numbers are good. They're like, at least without any of the modifiers, they're, I'm not going to say pedestrian, but like they're what you'd expect. They're normal, okay? Keep in mind, this is Berserker, so we can multiply everything by 1.5 times. Undead number jumps about 40k-ish. Evil, this number starts to skyrocket. And again, against both, boom, there you go, 575k. With NP2, you're already looking at 463. By comparison, let's take a look at some of the people that we would be kind of putting Summer Benny up against. So here's Lohi in her best possible at only about 378. You do get a little bit better scaling there for raw damage, but keep in mind, again, the anti-undead, anti-evil, and evil's going to be a pretty common one, is going to cause the outscaling at equivalent levels. Summer Ibuki is going to be another one that everyone's going to want to know about. Again, Summer Ibuki has the Earth super effective modifier. So if the enemy is both like evil and Earth, Summer Ibuki is going to win. So the idea here is, again, Summer Ibuki better if Earth. The only way that Benny Enema is going to compete with that, as you guys can see, NP1 there, Earth is 575 at 600. If we have NP1 with both, Benny Enema is only about 250 damage less. So very close there, but again, scaling a little bit going to be in favor of Summer Ibuki due to the high attack power. And then last but not least, Summer Musashi coming in here. Against the Saber, nobody beats Summer Musashi of the Berserker category. That much is certain. But obviously, Summer Musashi just kind of doesn't have a niche outside of that. It's very just normal numbers. So you guys can see, same thing with Benny here. Benny is going to come in a little bit under Summer Musashi's numbers. But if you do have, again, those niches, she will outperform Musashi. So something to be aware of, that, yeah, there is at least a little bit of parity. Ibuki's coming in on, I would say, the underside. Sorry, not Ibuki. Benny is coming in on the underside of the damage output here, with the ability to scale up if her niches are in play. So ask yourself, how badly do you need another AoE Berserker? Do you already have a strong one? If you do, you don't need Benny Enma. But this kit is very unique, and as I mentioned before, it's going to be very difficult to try to do something to a comp that has Benny Enma in it. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but the devs are really going to have to try to lock her down. Otherwise, she is just going to keep powering the team through things. They can't just chip away at a comp that Benny Enma is in. They're going to have to try to carve it up with things like buff removal and stuff, which is always going to be an issue in some of these. And due to Benny Enma's rather insane looping, you could use her in a single support setup with like another helpful, like flexible unit, somebody like, say, for instance, her Saber form that has 100% buff removal resistance. So there are ways to counter this, and there's no requirement necessarily for the devs to actually try and put it into Benny Enma, at least at the current point in time. She is not your top damage dealer, but she still does very respectable and good damage. So ultimately, at the end of the day, Benny Enma Berserker, very difficult unit to bring down in challenges, very survivable, and very good for damage, just not at the top end. So again, let me know what you guys think about Benny Berserker, and how do you guys feel about the overall summer cast in general? I'd be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys for the next one. They're all in a similar ballpark for no niche damage, at least. Yeah, like, honestly, looking at this, and this is the thing that I wanted to see, I might roll for Summer Benny now, because that kit really is freaking atrocious. It's so good. But I wanted to see where was she going to get hit, and I was like, it has to be damage. It has to be. And the damage was surprisingly good. It's not bad by any means. And I'd say if you were concerned about it, rolling even a second copy would just absolutely, like, how should I put it? It would absolutely solidify it to the point that you really don't have concerns. Time for impromptu summon session, Pog? No, I actually will not. She is on my consideration list. But I need to see how, like, the second banner's units are. Like for instance, Rider Lilith, what's that going to look like? What's the kit? King Protea Altar, what's that going to do? Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's a little bit of a trend there between King Protea Summer and Benny Enma for, hey, if you have a super large unit in your party, it does this. So I'm wondering if KP Altar is going to maybe have some supportive capabilities or something. We'll have to see. It's definitely going to be an interesting unit. Because a little bit, it has to be tangibly different from OG KP. Otherwise, people are going to be like, what the heck? Why did you do this? In 3 turns, you won't full rotate the effects, and the best effect for looping would be the NP damage, which you can already get to with only 1 Erd. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you need to, like... Yeah, I think mixed teams are going to be how you want to handle Benny Berserker. I think, like, hey, let's take Castoria so we have the overall, like, solemn defense protection. Let's take Erd. Or let's take like Tamamo or something like that. And I know people are like, well, Cad, Tamamo doesn't help with that one skill. You don't really care. If that skill's on a 1-turn cooldown, you get it back every turn. What it will help out with is lowering the cooldown of her other skills, of lowering the cooldown of Castoria. So, like, it's just going to keep that spiral of, like, hey, we are just this infinite snowball going and going and going and going and going. That's what I see the strength of Benny Enma being. Benny Zerker, and the reason I said that, like, she's hard to bring down, is just such an insanely sustainable unit. It's so ridiculous. I'd bet on Ultra being a DPS. I would too, but I do wonder, and I really want to see what's going on. Summer Benny makes Tamamo good. Yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it, right? Like, just from looking at this first skill. Stars are helpful. Stars help everyone. And, like, this is something you guys need to understand. In an arts comp, you have a unit that generates 30 stars every single turn. This is as good as saying Benny Enma literally is like Himiko just infinitely. Himiko's skill has a cooldown. Benny Enma's does not. It just is gonna keep going. Quick is dead sarcastic, yeah. I've been throwing her in with Umu Bride. Yeah, I can see that. And, like, the idea there, too, is, like, if you use someone like Umu Bride, if you use someone like Benny Saber, like, you're getting yourself a unit that can sit there over and over again and, like kind of be the Swiss Army knife that's going to help out the rest of the party, but also, like, single target someone down if needed, right? And that's kind of why I'm saying this. Like, I really do see this being a little bit of a thing where Benny Enma comps just kind of are difficult for the devs to deal with. Because arts comps are already that way. And what Benny Enma does, like, for instance, chat, what's Castoria's greatest weakness? She has two. It's lack of healing and buff removal resistance. Well, you have that right here. You don't need a support that provides healing. You just have it. Arts is always meta. Arts always is and always has been. I do agree with that. And that's why, like, again, I've had points where people have tried to tell me, like, oh, Arts is, like, the worst of all of the card types. And I'm like, okay, I don't fucking care. You can have that opinion. Gimp yourself for all I care. I hope Lola stays quick. I do too. It'll be interesting to see because, let's see. Just real quick, looking at our writers. Do we have a 5-star AoE quick writer, chat? Like, we have, Carrot Top, where is he? We have Achilles. We have Andromeda. Anyone else? And before single target and power creeps Ozzy? Yeah, it probably will be a thing. Like, I could easily see that. I'll be a little bit sad if that's the case, because then she would just compete with herself. And I, like, similar to the Noah situation, it's like, I really don't want to see that. That's stupid if they do that. Taigong, yeah. Okay, so with Taigong, we do have 3. So then it probably is single target, because truthfully, single target, we have a couple of 4-stars that are single target quick, but I think, is it only made alter? Yeah, then it probably is. She's probably single target quick. I'm so sad for Mate Alter if that's the case. They should definitely buff Mate Alter. Yeah, the videos do always show one enemy. At least since they got wise to us being able to predict that stuff. I wonder who Darty rolled for then. Probably Benny. 10k heal on a 6-turn cooldown is Enkidu level of sustain, but AoE. It's Enkidu level of sustain, but keep in mind you can accelerate it to go faster, right? Like if you do have an Erd in the party, this skill is a 50% charge skill that reduces cooldowns by 1. Targetable. So like you just slap that onto a Benny Enema and it's like, now we've gone faster. And that's also why I said like, so this is an interesting one. And depending on like how you could pull it off, if you could somehow find a way to get Erd and Tamamo in the party at the same time, you would start getting like pretty dumb results. The issue would be you can't really protect that composition at the current point in time. Almost invincible, yeah. I'm debating like grailing my Surfmo further. I didn't think they would just make Lilith a rider and not more of a and not a more exotic class. I think like I do think they're beginning to hit saturation with some of the extra classes, and so you're not going to see them as much. Like honestly, and I'm dead serious about this, I'm a little bit surprised that King Protea came out as a Moon Cancer. It's definitely a follow-up to OC3, but I'm a little bit surprised that they just didn't like throw her into something else, because Moon Cancer is very like inundated at this point. Wait, your Surfmo isn't 120? No, I haven't needed to. She's only 90. To be fair, again, same thing with like with NA. My JP is almost all like Artoria Grails. Pretender is what I saw as the lowest besides Beast. Yeah. Actually, a joke Beast for summer would have been funny. Because like even with Space Airish, she's a joke Beast for summer, but she's not a joke because they made it like 100% legitimate due to the events of story. I would like to see just an actual joke Beast. Should have been a Saber IMO. That would at least be weird since they did Passion Lip as Saber recently. Lion Saber Beast win, right? Saber Lion Beast joke, yes. Just literally put in parentheses after it joke. So I didn't think we were going to end up on NA again, chat, but I guess we can continue to do more story here. Since we do need to get done with Ordeal Call 2. We are on section 21. I still have an hour, so we can progress. Okay, calm down, Milva. Maybe 2 arrows done. It'll be probably faster than that. I'm actually pretty fast at doing story when I want to be. There's another unknown servant silhouette with animal ears. It's either a new servant or one of Kamachi's ascensions. I'm pretty sure it's Kamachi's ascension. Good old Dias Aire. I should be able to get to the end today. I mean, if I streamed after my normal time, probably, but I doubt I can finish it in an hour. Yeah, the only way that there could be more units is if they just didn't showcase them on that. And to be fair, Nasu's comments about a big summer likely just dealt with the fact that it's kaiju battles. Like, it's him being literal instead of figurative. Damn, there ain't gonna be another day. People are worried about a secret banner because phase 2 banners are 2 days later. Yeah, and I could see that. Like, I'm actually wondering why both banners come out in like 3 days, and then that's it for a 3-week event. And I'm like, I can see there being another one. Seal is single target, right? And so are the Hakunos. Seal is, I don't remember the Hakunos. I believe the Hakunos are AoE. Dude, you know he's gonna pop up and be like, psych. Yep. 11 summer servants for 11th Annie. That would be fun. If they did more servants, it would largely change my overall opinion on summer. And I really do mean that. Like, if they actually do have like 3 more servants that come out, I think my opinion probably changes dramatically. Yeah, the other count. The real count. Summer Bunyan? I kind of hope not. I'm kind of over Bunyan with the way that they handled Bunyan in the Super Bunyan event. Summer Sugitana would be really fast. At least I feel like for a 3-star. All you have to do is go on to the last. Yeah, but we're not done. I remember the way this worked on JP. Oh, he took it into himself, did he?
Damn, this bro's saying he doesn't match up to a 2-star, chat. Wild that they put him in the game as a 4-star. He came out from the study and gave it to you, so you could have told me. Of course he did. Were we doing the wrong thing or the right thing? Yeah. I've been wondering that for a bit. However, I also think Cagliostro's not dead. Because this is exactly what he would do. He would feign that he died to get rid of our last 2 allies. There was an eclipse? Yeah, there's also a meteor shower tonight. I know you can see him in Florida. You're a 3rd-rate servant with a 4th-rate master. Pretty much. I guess actually the story. They're doing kaiju event Summer Mecha Ellie. That's what I was saying, is that it better include Mecha Ellie. Since they technically had a kaiju battle in one of the Halloween events. Complete 1 quest. The only count I trust is Chocula. That's true. Chocolate rain gets into your eyes and melts your brain. Chocolate rain. Yeah, it's Solitude. This is meant to emulate the Count of Monte Cristo just being locked in prison alone. Alone with his hatred. Dantes. They're gonna do the bait and switch, so I'm gonna guess this is the prison tower one. Or maybe both. So he's gone as well. I watch him go until no sign of him remains. Oh boy. So we still have a... Yeah. We still have a parasite. Well, at least we can still simple summon. Can't set Avengers, but... I mean, who cares? I don't need Avengers to kill you. I have Saberfaces. Alrighty then. Well... if I go with Jarcher here... and we just loop-de-loop. Oh, wait, hold on. That's not a Saberface. There, now it's appropriate. Why not double X alter? I could. An imposter tried to sneak in, yeah. I view this as these are fodder enemies, assumedly. It's being put here to spend your AP because there's a lot of story. And so I assume it's not an actual, like, big important fight. So I'm just throwing Jarcher in here to loop through it as fast as possible, while still complying with the Saberface only restriction. Close enough was blonde, goddamn. If you ever truly find yourself needing a Saberface Moon Cancer, it's gonna be funny. I actually did. And it is the one time in the entirety of the Saberface runs that I've had to use a command seal. And it was back during Shinjuku against the Doggo. Shinjuku Doggo is the only boss to ever even make me use a command seal with the Saberface run. And I've had some close ones. That one was, there was truly no way. And because I did it at the time that it was relevant, we just simply did not have enough of a stable of Saberfaces to really help me. Like, for instance, we got, like, Maid Alter, like, right after. We got Surfmo right after, like... Or, sorry, not Maid Alter. Surfmo we did have. Who's the other one that we got, like, right after that? I know Castarumu was one. Okay, we're gonna pop the Noble Phantasm here just to help keep the attack ups going. Sasha and Nico are secretly smug about this, 100%. He'd have to skill her. But yeah, it's... Thinking back to those early Saberface runs, some of them were just tough just simply due to the limitation of the Saberface roster. Now the roster's a lot bigger, so I usually have a solution to a problem. There are a couple of things where I don't, and that makes things more difficult. Like, for instance, this is going to be a little bit on the annoying side. We're just gonna let them attack. I'm currently protected for this turn. I should use the 80% Jarcher card, but I'm gonna use this just for charge. Because I'll get overcharge rank 2 from doing this. I really hope Maid Ultra does get a buff, because I don't think she's as bad as people make her out to be. She's still really good damage, but she needs some more like quality of life to help her usability. And so while I would certainly appreciate a damage buff, they don't have to do that. I'd rather see them like either give her charge or give her like charge per turn or improve her NP gain somehow. It's just something to help her get back to an NP. Okay. I would love to see a Moon Cancer version of her. But yeah, at least thankfully the game hasn't hard forced it, really. And like part of the problem with Shinjuku Avenger was that he spammed evasion back at a time when a lot of the Saberfaces didn't have a way of getting through that. Oh, she only had 1k. Interesting. I thought she was gonna get like a full health restore. Shouldn't be able to NP this turn, so we'll just go for the kill. What's up, Blaze? How's it going? Does Mary Anning count as an honorary Saberface since you grailed her? No. That was a mistake and everyone knows it. I still can't believe I did that. I cannot believe I accidentally grailed a unit. Like, it's the epitome of, like, I should have been paying attention. Well, chat, at least we made it to section 22 since everyone was telling me how long this was. It's probably just more Avengers. Honestly, while that wasn't the fastest, I liked how cleanly Jarcher did that, so we're gonna leave Jarcher in. Especially since I still have Kestari Berserker in the back end. At least she's a Saber Sim. It was kind of ironic in that regard that I picked a character that is canonically a fan of King Arthur. Like, if you're gonna screw up on anyone, that's kind of a hilarious irony there. Okay, this likely doesn't kill. Red works fine, no problem. Summer Protean Bichon, nice. Yeah, I have not rolled yet. I was thinking about just not rolling this summer, but we did the analysis for Benny Berserker, and I looked at that. I was like, man, that is just such a ridiculous kit. I was like, maybe I should reconsider this. And then I said, okay, if that's the case, I'm gonna at least wait until that's not the best in terms of cards. I was like, I'm gonna at least wait until we get the second batch of units and see what's going on there. I also still have the sneaking suspicion that there's gonna be like a third banner or something. Okay, now at least we still have one turn of buffs intact. Please don't hit me with, like, a guts again. Ooh, yikes. I do not want her to get to an NP. Disgusting. So I have Castor and Pollux. And literally 2 Nito altars. Now they are both shadow servants, but I do not trust this shit. So we are going to take the full force of the law here with lawful Jarcher. May have done the trick. Ooh, it's close. If I had staggered cards, I probably could have just cleaned house. It did way more damage than I was expecting it to. But I guess that's kind of the issue, because last node I didn't really have a like point where I had all 3 of the buffs intact for the final wave. I love the lore reason for these enemies. To me, it at least feels like I'm dealing with the fragments. It is very interesting that we're not really getting any story, though. Man. Chat, when's my upgrade to Castoria Berserker that allows her to switch between single target and AoE? Everyone in chat groaned. Vinima feels like a must roll. I don't think she's a must roll by any stretch of the imagination, especially if you're somebody that already has, like, a really good Summer Ibuki or Summer Musashi, right? But I will say she's very quality in terms of, like, challenge content from the appearance. She's gonna refund, so let's try to charge the Castorias just for whatever the heck is on wave 2. Still gonna levy that. Yeah, I want to do this. I feel the need to, like, go back and do one of the Castoria's Arts cards there, but truly going with Jarcher's card will help solidify it if there is anything left alive at the end of this. Arteria Caster Altar, that'll be AoE Avenger or something. Again, I would really hope that if they actually do an Avenger for Artoria, that they actually do Lalter. Lalter does feel like a thematic fit. Everybody else doesn't. Well, this is just weird. Mabushi desu yo. There's an evade there. Yeah, my Jarcher has Sweet Crystal on right now, so it's not mattering. Because per chat's advisement, and I still think this is great advice, I've just had it on the entire ordeal call. Oh, joy of all joys. That's going to be a fun one. Well, I'm gonna die. We're gonna go ahead and fire that just with the intent of looping. It's so long ago we coded Nightbot where if people don't actually say Artoria's name properly, it deletes their comment. And I think people over the years have assumed that I get triggered by it, but truly, like, well, I don't like it. It's not anything where I sit there and, like, get super upset with people for saying it. It's just the mods did it as a joke long ago, and it's stuck in ever since. I was so close to 200% there. I could have pre-carded probably and gotten it, but not worth. This is more about just keeping everybody alive to Super Buff John. Oh boy. Okay. This is definitely going to be a little bit of a painful turn. I'm going to do that. Because it's kind of to the point where it's like we just need to get going and fire off the NPs as much as we can. Because truly, if not, I'm gonna get my clock cleaned in about like probably 3 turns. I'm dead without mitigating circumstances. This is what I get for taking an AoE to what is clearly a single target fight. Okay, that is all my firepower possible. Decent, about 150k there. Come on, extra? Nah, it's not enough. But this should finish him off right here. So not a quick one, but it does the job. And you know what? Insult to injury. More power. Ah! Damn it. Should have done 2 cards. Should have pre-carded the Jarcher Buster with the Castoria Buster, and that would have done the trick. AoE is a bit rude. Listen, this guy deserves it. It's fine, I'm sure you have reserves. I did. It was more of a, like, I needed to make sure I got Theodric low enough to actually finish him off with the reserves. But I still had Bride and Castoria Berserker, so it would have been a thing. Assuming they came out in appropriate timing. Okay, based off of that, what else is left? Do I have to fight Marie and, like, Dantes himself? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're gonna keep doing it, and worst case, if I end up against a single target, I'm just gonna rotate for them. Ooh, Salad Larry and Jalter. They both have Avenger trace. Ew, disgusting. Yeah, if Jalter crits me on turn 1 here, I may be in a little bit of trouble. That's not something that I am currently looking forward to. I'll get more arts cards for them. BB getting a heavy workout during these fights? Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, if you had good moon cancers, this was a good solution to it. Unfortunately, like, obviously, like, OC3 didn't come out until after OC2 was done. I just happened to be someone that didn't do OC2 when it first came out, and that's why we're doing it now. We are actually getting pretty close. It may just be mop-up time after stream tonight, or maybe, like, the last boss battle. So we abused the free card refund we got turn 1. We don't pop any buffs turn 2, and we're going to go for a strong NP. Basically as strong as possible here on turn 3. We'll save the charge skills there. But this is at least a NP with all the buffs intact. Unless Lilith has some fire ascensions. It's so funny, like, I keep getting people that are like super defending this summer's choice of units, and then people that are like, I'm not rolling this summer. And it's almost like there's no in between. And I just find that so funny. It definitely tells me, regardless of how people feel about the choices are polarizing. And I think that definitely is a cause for concern. But this is why I said too, it's like, it's not like they haven't done it technically. Like with Jarcher and Jerker, they had the same character, a normal and an alter, both released in the same summer. Jerker was at least a welfare, but the issue there is that ultimately it's somewhat, it was a problematic thing. People called it out. Definitely they lamented it, and you know, they've definitely over the years toned down the Saberfaces as a result. So it's like, I get it, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a reason why they stopped doing so many Saberfaces, because I think they knew that people were a little bit upset about it. Are we getting part of OC3 today? I believe tonight at reset you guys do. I don't remember if there's like maintenance or something or not. But again, that's the goal here, is to like have OC2 done so that once OC3 is completely unlocked here tomorrow, I can start doing OC3. Now, granted, tomorrow's stream chat is going to be a bonus stream because I've already done my 3 streams this week that you guys are all entitled to. Next week, we'll be coming back and doing more story, but at least, and going over the new units, but at least for now, tomorrow's stream will be a stream with Kiki, and I don't know what we're going to be playing yet, but I can tell you it will not be Donkey Kong. Everyone keeps using the argument of like, oh yeah, but like this is Western players' opinions, and for JP it doesn't matter. I've also similarly heard people say that like certain characters are more popular on JP, and I can tell you that people saying that are not telling you the whole truth. And I pointed this out earlier. It's like, I've had people tell me that Ono no Komachi and that Bashon are much more popular on JP than they are on the NA side of things. That may very well be true. But what I can tell you that is actually true is that most people did not roll those units. I know that because I can see people's support lists and stuff like that. I saw during the events that nobody had CEs and things. So you can tell when people roll and when they don't. There's a lot of signs that point to it. And so, regardless of how popular the characters are, we know that, like, people didn't actually roll for them. Now, will that translate over to them, like, rolling for a summer unit? We don't know. Like obviously, I think in the case of, like, Bichonne, it's possible that, like, she actually becomes more popular now as a summer unit than she originally was. No maintenance, we're getting the rest of OC3 in an hour and a half? Okay. I'm excited to see you late again. Nice. Nobody rolled in the Hibiki and Shibaki event. I think there were at least a couple of people that acquired them just because they're like a rare type moon spawn. But yeah, I think it was a similar issue of a lot of people took a look at their kit and said, Tiamat's just better. We don't need this. And it was kind of funny because I still remember the 90++ in their event. You were unable to really clear it with them. And the only like alter ego that was strong enough was Tiamat. And I found that hilarious. But yeah, and I'm not trying to say that like the JP players' opinions don't matter and stuff like that. It does. I look at that and I say like, wow, obviously there's all sorts of opinions on any server, but what's the, I'm not gonna say like the meta opinion, but like what's the go-to opinion going to be? So I assume I cannot use Jalter. Big sad. So I need a good single target. Draco is unfortunately not going to be effective here. Gonna go with that. Did I throw Jerker in? Did I do Okita? Like, turn it into a little bit of a solo? Double X altar? That's actually a possibility. Don't think the devs remember Daeon exists. Yeah. Steel's gonna be so strong when I get Moon Cancer class score. Oh yeah. I found it hilarious that of all the class scores they waited for Ruler last, and I was like, but Ruler's the one that needed the help the most. My understanding has always been that Astolfo is more popular on the NA side than JP, but I think that's for different reasons. Class advantage defensively against opponents in Blaze of Vengeance. Okay. Well, I don't know how to remove that, so me, I guess. At this point, I should have just used Draco. Actually, I don't know if there's a multiplicative effect that could be really bad. I'm still a Berserker class score than on the Lancer. I started with Lancer as I did on JP because I remember that the Berserker class score, well, it was common knowledge to go for that first, like, you didn't have to. Okay, that's a little bit problematic, but I also assume I don't need to do all of his bar here. Kind of a shame for Astolfo considering he's unironically a cool character, but it is what it is. Yeah. Another Grail front would be nice. It's so funny because they talked about that in the Famitsu interview with Mr. 2, and he's like, yeah, the only way you're getting another one is if I do it because nobody else wants to do it. And I was like, dang. About Saber Shiki, whether they fixed her NP on NA yet. I saw someone mention she can loop 1-1 X node. Can you explain how that works? Thanks. She basically now, after all of her upgrades, can do a lot. I did actually, thank you for reminding me to circle back on that, because you guys know I was making that statement that Saber Shiki still probably needed an upgrade, but Avalon did send me the new updated numbers with Erd, and it is pretty damn good. Like, so you can see, it's like where I was talking about her needing an upgrade was here. And that's because Muramasa got a super buff that threw him up here. And I was like, what the heck? Muramasa does more than Saber Shiki, and she's here. But now, thanks to Erd existing, this is Saber Shiki's new number. But yeah, you can kind of brute force Shiki through charge. She's much better than she used to be due to the upgrades that they gave her. You just have to support her well. Would want Grail fronts all the time, but another one in not too distant future would be good. I'd be okay with a Grail front a year. I feel like that's like appropriate. Same thing. Like, I think people want like a tower event and stuff. Like, people want more variety to the events. The events are getting stale in the sense of they're always the same shit. I knew it. It was you, Amakusa, under there. Bro, what happened to your eye? Did you get, like, eye herpes? UI can see it. Oh, God. So there's still someone inside of us. Or inside someone else. Yeah, it could still just be that, like, Dante's is still... Because we're inside of him, we are watching from... Like, he's watching from within our viewpoint. In the same way that, like, you can dream and you can be in someone else's perspective. If you really wanted me dead, I would be. Yep. So why? This is all on purpose, right? Was it necessary? Yes. Pink eye, more like stink eye. Within you. So it's the cosmos within ourselves. Okay. This must have been wild when it first came out on JP and you didn't know how, like, the future was gonna go. Decisive battle farewell. Sweet. Yeah, I would grind my teeth at him. It'd be like, "Arrgh." I like how both those answers were just the same thing, just mixed up in terms of their order. Yeah, we knew that. Okay. Hey, chat. Those of you guys who were arguing with me about the actual, like, morality of doing the lost belts, this answer is exactly me being right. Chronicled and pruned events. Death is death. Mm-hmm. Flower mats out of their mouth like that one scene in Chainsaw Man every time I farm OC2 nodes. Yeah. Ah, so he's dad. That's what I figured was the case. It's nice to see them confer it. I was gonna say, you better not show us this again. Wait. Even if the wall doesn't stop her, then our flames, the one who awaits her at the final showdown, will. Bro. And that's, I think, what they mean by death is death. Like, is it actually happening? Does it fade into nothingness? Yeah. But are you still there? Do you still experience it? Do you still feel it? Yes. That's why it's the same. I don't know and I don't care. Yep. So get revenge. She's Hercules now? Yeah. Well, actually, you're Hercules if you're male. You're Xena Warrior Princess if you're female, chat. Okay. Now I'm gonna meet his gaze. But you could have just talked to me. Hmm. Chat, did you guys know that Hercules played as Kevin Sorbo? could have been an email. Yeah, we'll take it under advisement. Yep. I do like that the master gets so many lines here. It's great. They really do need to do more of this. Bro got a glow up. I gotta admit, I actually do not like this appearance, though. Like, the new form of Dantes is worse than the original, in my opinion. I think the original is just straight up cooler. This is like the epitome of over design. It's too much, yeah. Even his first and second, I feel like could have been a lot better. All right, chat, here we go. Once more. Damn, bro's in a Dyson sphere. Leave Soul Edge Dantes alone. I mean, people are welcome to like it. For me, it's just a little bit too much. Like, it really, I don't know. I prefer the original form of Dantes. It has the cooler vibe to me. Like, he's dark and brooding and edgy. This is more like we made him neon and purple. He's in a tumbleweed. Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's too Final Fantasy. Maybe more modern Final Fantasy, yeah. Watch out, he's activated his LB3. Yeah, if he's in Final Fantasy 14, what's his class? Dark Knight 1,000%, yeah. I don't know, chat. He's not wearing a demonic helmet and wielding a greatsword. He does, like, honestly, he strikes me as like a Bleach villain too. Oh damn, we were so close. Bro, did you just strip all of my buffs? Did I just witness you strip all of my buffs? Okay, I can't even tell who you hit. No. That's a no. Wait, hold on, that's JP. Like, at that point, if he's gonna do that, I will actually pop my Mystic Code just to break his bar. Original Dantes was the cool guy walking away from an explosion. New Dantes is the explosion. That's actually a good way of putting it, I feel like. The MegaCon photo? Yep, that time when we were all together. If only the rest of chat had come to MegaCon. Oh. What the hell did that do? that removed my blaze of vengeance, but ooh, guts. Okay. Did I just like need to use my Mystic Code? Is that what it was? They would have seen CAD cosplay. I really do need to do a new cosplay for that. Mystic Code gives extra effects, yeah. There's a field effect if you haven't noticed. I actually had not. Thank you for pointing that out. I just legitimately was focused up here and not looking at, like, everything's so damn purple. It's easy to miss. Wait, isn't that his opposite eye? I guess it's because as a villain he's mirrored. Cool. Stunned. Excellent. Can't even use her cards. Fuck it, we do it live. Meaning the purple rain? No, the chocolate rain. Chocolate rain gets into your eyes and melts your brain. Which I guess is true for Dantes. He must have gotten that that chocolate rain, chat. Bro. What the hell? Oh, great. Now he's stunned other Castoria. Oh, how convenient of him. I do like the new Dantes is in P though. I'm not wild about the Dyson sphere that he's riding around in, but otherwise, yes, I do like the close-up and he's just like charging at you while cackling madly, right? Okay, please let that be the end of the fight. Don't make me go all the way. God damn it. Bro, please. Bro, 3 fucking hits on the same character. Come on! I could have handled 2. 3 was literally 1 too many. He said, fuck it, we're doing it live. Yeah, pretty much. Not the hamster ball? Mm-hmm. It is funny, because I feel like prior to this point, they hadn't let you go more than, I think, like 2 bars against anyone. Oh, actually, I should have popped that first, but whatever. He's gonna strip it away anyway, so I'm just gonna use it for the healing. This is actually a little bit precarious if he gets Castoria Berserker down at this point, because I've committed to keeping her alive. And there's not much I can do to change his seed. Oh, what a shit turn. This is just pure RNG. I have to hope he doesn't target Castoria Berserker. Bro. Okay, I think that was Lakshmi. Yes, that's actually great. God fucking damn him. Like, please, my dude. I don't think there's anything I can do to stop it. I think he just actually wins on this and I have to go back to the drawing board, but we'll see. I might be able to eke out the win, just barely, but it's not gonna be good. So I probably should have held the invuln in reserve for that. A only choice would be to sit on that. There's my Lakshmi taunt buff, right? And she's still the most high octane, so we're gonna put her third. And bro has a guts too. Yeah, I don't know. Especially if that's a like actual full restore. We let him do it. We play this out. If this doesn't work, we come back probably next week and try to get it done. Yeah, this is pretty much... Yeah, what a shit hand this is. Holy fucking crap. Thing is, he doesn't have, like, invuln at any point, so I can probably get a much better, like, result just by putting a better CE on Castoria. Don't you do it. And she is that close to getting her NP again. There's no point. This is literally just... I'm literally just F'd here. I remember hating this fight now. Don't ley line stones work here? Yes, but it's a Saberface only challenge, so why would I use them? There you go. Yeah, he just hits so freaking hard. Oh, right, I forgot I had Okina, but that's still not gonna matter. I just don't know what his mechanic is for like when he charges to full. Vanilla BB soloed the last bar. Yeah, I can see that. BB's always been strong for stuff like that. God damn, that damage is just so shit. At least my Oki is level 100, man. Bro, fuck off. He freaking bar popped her too. Holy shit, man. I have one more turn assuming he does not NP here. So like this actually has to like pop his guts. It's the only way that there's any hope. And it's not going to. Did he remove my evasion? Okay, chat. We don't have time. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to be doing the bonus stream with Kiki, like I said. Let me see if there's anybody on. But we will revisit this fight. It's actually good. I was up against a little bit of a time lock here, and I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can get it done. And I could not, so we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and try to figure this one out, which has me a little bit excited. I do think it's doable, and I do think we got a little bit bad RNG, so it is what it is. Let me send you guys over to Mr. Fino, who is on. And again, I will be back tomorrow. We will continue this next week. Hope to see you guys there for that, as well as more of the analysis of our summer units and hopefully some news on JP. So we'll see. But again, thank you guys for watching. Sorry I couldn't get it done tonight, but we will get it done next week. Go give Fino my love. Later.